Welcome back to Overlord Anime Review, episode number 16. This I'm discussing the 40th episode of the series, I think it was Uncertain Enemy, Unexpected Move. This actually covers, believe it or not, the prologue. This comes from book 14, a book I just recently read, like a month ago. It covers the prelude, chapter 1, pretty much its entirety, except for a small section, which I'll get to that, and roughly about the good 20% of Chapter 2. Now, the way the thing starts out is quite interesting. They adapt the stuff out of order. Like, the first thing you see is Albedo. Like, you kind of see her first. She's the first thing you see. You see her in her office. You see her there. We also see Philip in this episode. First up, he's been appearing in this series since episode 2. Yes. As for what the heck he's been up to since then, well, he also comes up with the idea, of course, this is actually from the beginning of chapter 1. The whole scene with Philip, where he meets up with these two barons, and discussing stealing some food from in the show, it's the Sorcerer Kingdom. That is from the start of Chapter 1. Yep. That's pretty much what it is. Just want to make sure I get this part correct here. Okay, so it actually started out with the start of Chapter 1, and goes to that, and then we go straight to Albedo, which is from the prelude from the book for some reason. Now, I don't know why they did this with them sequence of order. So, yeah, Albedo in the office at the Tomb of Nazarick, where she has her own desk now. And she's just basically, like, going through all these foods, and like, man, we need some manpower. So, then, of course, basically finds out about what happened. And then we cut to basically Ainz. Now, by the way, the theft basically, does in the episode where he steals that food. That sequence is cut from the episode for some reason, which I thought that was kind of weird. Also, for some reasons, like, they finish up book 11 and they jump straight to book 14. You're probably thinking watching this episode like, wait, did they skip over book 12 and 13? Well, from what I've heard, they're adapting those for those movies. Yes, those original movies. So, that's pretty much what happened with those. Yep. So, then we see Ainz and Momon, aka Pandora's actor, with Nabi. And there's actually a lot more to the conversation that's in the episode, where they just see briefly walking. They chat about an orphanage that Yuri's running, and then, of course, basically, Ainz gets a message from Entima, who is one of the maids. Now, in the book, basically, it was Albedo who suggested Entima first to contact Ainz, but it's still on food. And Ainz immediately go back to Tomb of Nazarick, which actually, this is the first time this whole season he's actually done that. Yes, in terms of the anime, this actually is the first time since toward the end of the previous season he's actually set foot in the throne room of Nazarick. As somebody who's actually watched every episode, it is great to see this place again. Yeah, we don't get to see like the full detail of the place like we did before. Not sure why we couldn't get a full camera view of like the room. It is humongous. It is beautiful. Madhouse usually does a fantastic job with it. But for some reason we see the big throne, which is great to see the damn thing. We see the beautiful red carpet that's up behind him, but not what's behind the floor guardians. So basically he's informed about the theft, and we see Hema basically brought there too, which this is from the book. And there's a little bit of minor change here where you have him talking to her. Now, just using mind control magic, it was just about somebody else did it, and in the episode I just walk up to her, question her, and basically confirming everything basically she said. And then she goes back to her house. Of course, it is also suggesting in the episode possibly a figure may have betrayed them. Then, of course, basically, like, Right as she goes back, and we finally come back to see, well, we see the prince, and along with the princess. The scene itself is mostly intact, except there's a cut basically here, a mention of Eight Fingers. Yes, there's also mention of Jacoba, that was a demon that basically popped up in the two-part books, the Sacred Kingdom, that two-part story arc. Yes, and if you're curious, why didn't he not appear in the show? Why did the anime decide to skip it? Because it's for the movie. Because it's a big, humongous battle. So that's mainly the reason for that. So basically, they're informed about the whole thing about the theft and possibly threatening the war. They meet in the meeting room where they're discussing. Of course, the prince himself basically is like, well, he's slated to become the next king, and of course, the king himself was basically hesitant. And then he's informed about Albedo coming. Then, of course, basically they're going to meet her. And most of the scene goes mostly intact, and they stop at the moment where the king offers his head, which actually comes toward the end, like toward the very bottom of the page 117 in the book. So you could say this episode roughly covered over 100 pages in one episode. And you could say, yes, they did that. I think in the case of the stealing scene, I think it was quite weird they cut that. I mean, the air cuts were fine, to say the least. Oh yeah, by the way, the whole thing with Declaration of War, that's in the book too. And it's interesting the end of the episode where they did, and I'm curious where they're going to go next with it. But I definitely got to say, it's good. I think it's kind of, they could have extended by a couple more minutes by including the actual theft. But no, they cut it for some reason. Not sure why, but they did. Yep. Also, we do briefly see a dragon in the episode because, well, they caught it last episode. Yeah, and you might be thinking, did the episode do a time skip? Because you skip over an entire story arc with the whole Sacred Kingdom stuff. Yes, it did, but I already knew about them basically just not adapting the books 12 and 13 for the anime. I knew that ahead of time, so I was not all that surprised about it. It is surprising now we get to book 14, a book that was released here just 2 months ago. Yeah, 2 months ago, this book's released. And I did review this book knowing I got the French reading it. And it's interesting though, this actually is the first time this has happened, where a book basically I had previously reviewed is now being adapted for the anime, which is interesting to say the least. Well, in the case of manga, this has happened a few times, but light novels, no, this is actually the first time I can think of this has ever happened. Yep, but not much else to say about this episode. It's good. Can't wait for next week. So yes, that's it for Sick Review. And that's definitely going to be it for tonight because I have no more time. I had to basically do this as quickly as possible because it's getting kind of late where I am. So tomorrow, I may have just one video coming up tomorrow, and that's just Commander V3, and that's it. Yep. Next video. Bye.